Hello, welcome to Sunflower Cottage Crochet. I'm your host, Sarah, and today is the first video of our crochet techniques tutorial video series. Yes, it's a long title. I probably not say that too often. So obviously you can see here, we're going to learn the traditional granny square. And in true Sunflower Cottage tradition, I chose to do this in sunflower colors. So the first round is made up of just 4 granny clusters, which are 3 double crochets and chain 2 spaces, which allows you to work the next round into where you start building corners. And in the third round, you work on corners plus side clusters to grow your granny even more. And in the fourth row, you're going to do your corners and 2 side clusters. Each side grows by 1 extra space each round. It'll become more obvious to you as we work on the square together. So to show you solid color, this is solid color granny. Okay. Another solid color. All these are our colors. Alright. So there are 2 ways to get started when you're working in, this is considered round even though it's square. When you're working in the round, there's 2 ways to get started. The first way most people are familiar with and use it. So you create a slip knot. However you do that is fine. Chain 4. Slip stitch to the first chain, and it creates a tiny little hole to work into, not that last stitch hole, this hole. Chain 3, which counts as your first double, and then start working right into the middle of that tiny little circle. That is not my favorite way to do things. I prefer to do a magic ring. For those that don't know, this is the way I do a magic ring. First, I lay the yarn across 2 fingers, pinch it, wrap it around the top, come back underneath and cross over, and then I'm going to hold that and come back around behind that first loop. Now I'm using my other fingers to hold it in place. So I'm going to reach under the first loop and pull the second loop underneath and out. Okay, now I'm going to twist this loop, so that it holds its shape while I've taken my fingers out. And I'm just lightly holding it, you don't really even have to pinch it. And then the pattern calls for a chain 3 to get started, so I'm going to chain 3 right there. And I'm going to turn it back so my chain 3 is facing me correctly. I know that was probably confusing and it seemed like a lot of work, but you have to realize I went really slow to show you how to do it. So however you do it, you have your starting chain 3. And in order to make this granny, let me get my color swatch back so it's easier to see the rounds. We're just going to make 4 3DC clusters, 3 double crochet clusters or granny clusters, and a chain 2 between each one. So since we already have our first one, we're just going to do 2 more double crochets right into your loop. Okay, and now we're going to chain 2. Grab more yarn. And then we're going to do 3 more double crochets right back into your same loop. And I'm actually going to tighten mine down a little. Okay, so now we have 2 of those, and chain 2. Do another 3 double crochet, and chain 2. So now we have 1, 2, 3 clusters and 1, 2, 3 chain 2 spaces. We need 1 more cluster. So we're going to do another 3 double crochets into that loop. It gets pretty tight when you're doing the chain 4 method, but you can slide things over. And I'm going to tighten mine up here by pulling the tail end, and it closes it right up. Alright, so here's what it will look like now for everybody, no matter which way you started. So we have 4 clusters and 3 chain 2 spaces. We need one more chain 2 space to even out the round. So we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to slip stitch to the first chain 3 that we did for the round. Alright, so here is the trick method to doing a granny. Most people will start slip stitching in the next 2 double crochets and then into the next chain 2 space. That is the original way to do this. However, it creates a problem. As you're working up your rounds and they get bigger, it starts to tilt, and so you have a weird looking granny. So what I've learned to fix that and to make things easier is I'm just going to chain 1 and turn my work. Yes, I know, I'm now working on the back side. It's okay, these are reversible. So slip stitch into that chain 2 space that is right next to you and chain 3. That is your first double. Now we're going to make 2 more double crochets for a cluster, and we're going to stop there. We will finish out this corner when we come back around. But what I want to show you is what we're doing now. What we're doing now is we're making these 4 corners. A granny corner consists of 2 clusters and a chain 2 space, always. So now we're forming that particular round. We started one, but we're going to move on. Do not chain 1 or 2 or any number between jumps. This helps to keep the granny from being too loosey-goosey and gappy. So we're just going to yarn over and put 3 double crochets into the next chain 2 space. Sorry if I'm like all over the place. Chain 2, 3 double crochets right back into that same chain 2 space. That is how you do a granny corner. Okay, and now we're going to work the next corner. So we're just going to jump right over, no chaining, and work 3 double crochets. I love how much yarn splits. Chain 2, and I kind of turn my work a little so that my corners end up in actual corner. And do 3 more double crochets into that same chain 2 space. Now, without chaining up anything, we're going to finish this corner out. Well, we're going to do one more corner rather. So jump over and do 3 double crochets into the chain 2 space, chain up 2, turn your work a little, do 3 more double crochets into that same chain 2 space. Alright, this is what it should look like so far. So you've got 3 completed corners and an unfinished corner. Now we're going to hop over and finish the one that we started. So just jump over, no chaining. Whoop. Jump over and do 3 more double crochet into that same chain 2 space that you started out in for the round. Okay, now we need to chain 2 and slip stitch to the top of that starting chain 3. Now if you were going to keep going in the same color, you would chain 1 and turn, slip stitch, chain 3, and start your corner with 2 more double crochets and hop around. But I want to show you how to change colors, so I'm not going to do that. There are 2 ways to do it. One is when you're going to join, you insert and yarn over and pull through, and then stop there and add your next color. Okay, and that's how I normally do it. But for granny squares, I just don't even like to bother with that. I'm going to close it up like normal, and I'm going to chain 1 to secure, and I'm going to snip my yarn off and pull that out, tighten it down. And now we would normally turn our work for this, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it to what we're considering the right side. I'm going to grab my new yarn, and I do not like to tie knots, so what I do is I just wrapped it around my finger, and I leave a plenty long tail to weave in. And I'm going to trap this blue yarn, insert your hook, and pull the loop through. Some people do this to secure. I'm going to go ahead and do it. You can also just pull through 1, but this makes it tall enough to count as a stitch, so I'm going to chain up 2 more times to get my chain 3. Now I'm going to double crochet right over those 2 tails 2 more times to make my 3 double crochet cluster, and then I'm going to kick them off behind because we're going to skip these 3 double crochets so they'll be visible underneath. So without chaining, now we have an open spot in the side to work into, and we want to put something there, or if you just jump over, things are going to get folded. So this is how grannies grow. They start building along the sides. So we're going to jump over with no chaining and do 3 double crochets right into that open space, just like so. Then we're going to jump over with no chaining to the corner and do a corner, which, if you recall, is 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. So work that in your corner, and that's all into the same chain 2 space. Okay, and remember, you can pause the video at any time to catch up. So we have another side opening here, and we're going to put 3 double crochets right into it with no chaining to get there. So I'm working my 3. Okay, now I'm going to jump over and do a corner. Remember, it's 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, all in the same chain 2 space. Sorry, I sort of almost got off camera there. Thankfully, I explained it before I just started doing it, right? Alright. So now we have yet another open space on this straight edge to work into. So we're going to hop over and put 3 double crochets right into that space. And now we're going to do another corner. 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. So we have one last open space down the side, the straight edge, to work into. So we're going to go ahead and put our 3 double crochet right into that space. Alright, and now we're going to finish off the corner we started. So we're going to jump over and put 3 more double crochets into that same chain 2 space, and properly finish it with a chain 2 and a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 to join. Here's what it should look like so far. You have your starting point, your corners are built, and now you've started to grow the pattern. And by changing colors, it sort of helps you to see all that. Now we're working the traditionally 4th round of the granny square, where we're growing the side by an extra cluster and doing our regular corners. If you wanted to do a continuous granny and make a ginormous granny square blanket, keep in mind it will be perfectly square and not rectangular shaped like most beds. You could just keep going in this manner, and it will never turn cockeyed on you or anything if you use this method. So if you recall, it's chain 1 and turn, and then we're going to slip stitch into that chain 2 space, chain up 3, and do 2 more double crochets in the corner. Need more yarn again. Okay, and we'll finish it when we come back. So now you see we have 2 open spaces with which to make 2 side clusters. So yarn likes to hook itself around my rings. So we're just going to jump into the first available space and do 3 double crochets. Jump over to the next open space and do 3 double crochets. Now we're going to work a corner. Remember that's 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all into the same chain 2 space. So I'll work that with you here. Okay, and now once more we're on a straight edge and we have 2 open spaces to work into. Into each open space I want you to put 3 double crochets, and then you're going, when you get to a corner, you're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets into the same chain 2 space, turn your work, you have 2 more open spots, put 3 double crochets into each spot, and do another corner. Do this all the way back around, and I will meet you back at the starting point to refresh your memory on how we finish this off. Here I am back at the end, and I'm going to finish out that first one that I started. So remember, just jump over and put, oh boy, it hooked on my ring. Jump over and put 3 double crochets right on top of that join into that chain 2 space. Whoop. It gets crowded. And to finish it out, chain 2 and join. And now for those of you that are just doing a traditional size granny, this is where you would stop before you start joining. Some people make 5-round grannies and join, well, 4 rounds and join with a 5th round, and others just do 4 rounds, or 3 rounds, excuse me, and join with a 4th round. It's really personal preference. You get to decide. So I'm going to chain 1 to fasten off. I'm going to snip my work, hopefully not my fingers. Pull the yarn through and pull it snug. Now you get the lovely task of weaving in these ends. It doesn't take long. That's another tutorial I will have available for you. So I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. And if you liked it, please hit the like button. If you would subscribe to our channel, we would appreciate it. And please hit that notification bell so you are notified each time we have a new video available just for you. Alright guys, see you next time when we work on the solid granny square. Bye bye for now.